kind of the next segue into ATVs that I want to talk about. This one is very common. People don't think about it. If you have an ATV, it is most likely not covered on your home insurance if there's damage to the ATV. So if it's parked in the shop and there's a fire and the ATV's gone with that fire, most of the time it wouldn't be covered. There's a few instances, like on certain types of policies, farm policies will usually have some coverage, or if it's only used for the maintenance of the property, but it's not used for recreation, it might be covered. So there's some few scenarios where you might find that it was covered on the home insurance, but by and large, it's not. So if it's a motorized vehicle, the home insurance has exclusions on it that they're not going to cover that lost ATV when it's damaged in a fire. So you would have to have a separate policy for the ATV. The other part of that, inside of that ATV policy, is you're also going to have liability. So if you have a track, say you got like 5-10 acres and you got a track that you ride your ATVs on your property, and then somebody got hurt while you're riding the ATVs, liability might extend from your homeowners to that person getting hurt, assuming that track is not open to the public, you're not charging fees and so some other things. It's just for your own personal use. But if you go off property, you go to the dunes to go riding, or if you're going out trail riding on forest roads and things like that, the liability from your home is not going to cover you if you come around a corner and the guy that was in front of you is at a dead stop and you plow into him. And so you would want to have liability on that ATV also. So I recommend, if it's got a motor, you should really be thinking about having a separate policy for it, both for liability, and then also if you're concerned about the value of that vehicle, to have comprehensive and collision on it. The ATV policy, same as the boat, if you go, I don't care about the value of it. It's a $2,000 ATV, and if it's gone, oh well. Fine, you don't need to carry comp and collision on it, but you'd still want to have that liability. So if you're riding off property, it's covered. Now, if you never take it off your property and you're only using it on your property and you don't care about the value of the ATV itself, you're fine. Your liability on your home insurance should work. Double check with your agent, make sure they don't have some sort of strange exclusion on your policy, but it should be fine. The next step would be, and that applies whether it's an ATV, I should say, or an off-road motorcycle. Now, if they're road licensed, if you can get a license for it to drive it on the road, it's not going to be covered on your homeowner's policy. So you do need to get a separate policy for that. And you would also want to make sure that you let your agent know when you're looking for that policy. On the ATV, or the side-by-sides are very common now. Most of them are road licensable. So even if you don't have it licensed for the road, but it's eligible to be licensed for the road, you need to let your agent know, because it's a different type of policy that they would want to write for you to make sure there's not a gap in your coverage. So if it's road licensable, make sure you tell them. But if it's a strictly off-road vehicle and it's used on premise, you're fine. Same thing with a dirt bike. But if it's a dual sport where you could use it on-road, off-road, you can run into the same issue. Make sure you have that covered properly.